If you have any little leaguers in your family and they're getting some championship rings, I guess, we have an easy one-day scrap wood build to showcase their achievement. Next. I'm Rick, and this Shut the heck up, you stinking roosters. Build up for your sanity. This is the Shack. Hello and welcome back to the Shack. If you have any little leaguers in your family, this might be a good, easy, fun build to showcase their achievements, especially if they're getting championship rings. I had a family member contact me. One of their grandchildren has, I think, 10 championship rings, and they're just thrown in a drawer. She sent me some pictures and ideas, and I started searching around, and I was completely blown away. I had no idea they were giving out championship rings. This is completely new to me. So I love a challenge. I like building something different. After doing some research, I came up with a plan. This is what we're going to build. I built this for my cousin's grandchild to showcase their achievements, put all their championship rings on, and still have room for some more. Now, after doing my research, I decided to go with the official MLB measurements for home plate. Basically, it is a 17-inch square. The width is 17, height is 17. The two sides that are at a 90 are 8.5 inches. The second half of that base angles down. Those sides are 12 inches. So we have 17, 8.5, and then the V is 12 inches. You can arrange this in a multitude of ways. I chose, because it's got so many championship rings, just to have two shelves that will display the rings. You could have one shelf with rings. You could put another shelf to display some baseballs. If you get a game ball or something, you may be able to put that on there. Maybe put one ball down at the V like I have mine. Have a shelf, maybe put some collectible baseball cards. I mean, there's so many ways to do this. It's completely customizable and up to the individual what they want to display in this home plate shape. Material, you can use whatever you have available. This isn't really going to be a family heirloom, so I really wouldn't go too expensive on the wood. Personally, I think I would stay around pine. It looks great if you want to burn it and clear coat it, or you can burn it and have a colored stain put on, or like I did, you can paint it. I mean, again, completely customizable and up to you what you want the end result to look like. For this project, I actually did something I have never done before. I bought this Harvey bandsaw for the main purpose of resaw. I have never been able to do that. This is something completely new, and I am very excited. I can't wait to try this out. So I actually chose to use a 2x4. Yeah, I have plenty of these around, and as I was looking around for some wood to use, I thought, wait a minute, I got this bandsaw I haven't been able to use yet. Perfect, I can resaw the 2x4 into 1/2-inch material, and voila, there I go. I have the material I need to make this project. Utilize the wood that you have. That's the main thing. This is a perfect scrap wood project. Now, the only thing I didn't have, and I don't have stuff like that laying around in my scrap bin, is wood dowels. I have dowels for dowel joinery, but I don't have wood dowels for stuff like this, so I had to go buy that. There's so many ways you can get the same result and not necessarily have the tools that I have. I'm just going to utilize what I have to do it because I want to use them all in this process. So I'm going to take you through the process I went through, and I hate to say it, I think I made 3 or 4 mistakes. I'll point those out on the way. Welcome to my life. So first and foremost, we're going to take my 2x4. We're going to go over to the joiner and we're going to square them up. got them all nice and square. I'm going to get on the table saw. I'm going to cut them to the final width of 3 inches. I am blown away. Did you see that? When I was editing this, I'm like, whoa, check that out. Here, watch it one more time. See what I mean? I'm like, wow. If you ever had any questions if that above blade dust collection system thing ever worked or not, right there's your proof in the pudding, baby. Yeah, that sliver of that wood is set there and all of a sudden, right up it goes. Kind of reminds you of that Willy Wonka and Chocolate Factory. A kid got stuck in the pipe. Like, oh man, this is exciting. Can't wait for it to, all of a sudden, poof, up he goes, man. That was cool. Just a little, actually I watched it the other day, so I thought it was kind of neat. That's why it reminded me of that. So now we have these, I know, I kind of veer sometimes. I have this down to a 3-inch width now. Let's head over to the bandsaw, set this up, and do some cutting for the very first time. Do some resawing. I don't know if that isn't actually the first mistake. If you saw that, if you caught it. I completely forgot about getting my table 90 to the blade. If you saw that, I'll just put this quick clip in, look in the very bottom, you'll see the blade kind of come out. The table isn't exactly level to the blade, so I forgot to set that up. I got everything else on it, put it together, got all excited. Not a big deal. Run it through the planer. We get them all to a level playing field. And yeah, the cut isn't great. And you see an awful lot of the saw blade marks. This isn't like very expensive exotic wood. It's just a 2x4. I can run it through the planer and get rid of them, so it's not a big deal. It cut smooth. It didn't slow down, it didn't bog, it didn't do anything. It just right through, man. Now, that was cool. So I'm excited and I am happy. I think I'm gonna make a couple more of these just so I can use that right now. Let's get out to the planer, plane these down, get them all level. Back onto the table saw, we're going to cut them to length. I made my first mistake. When I was preparing to go to the chop saw to cut the angles on the pieces, I realized something. I cut the side 8.5 when I should have cut it at about 9 inches. This angle right here, That is a 22.5. I should have cut that angle first, and then from that edge to the end, 8.5 inches. I cut the length of that wood 8.5, then I put my angle on it, so I actually lost about a 1/16. Not a big deal, but I'm just saying I should have done that first, then cut the overall length. Now that the sides are done and the angles are set, we focus on the bottom part, the V, the bottom diamond. With our miter still set at 22.5, cut the top angle, which is 22.5. The bottom of that V, that is a 45-degree angle. So once we have the 22.5 cut, we readjust the miter to a 45-degree and cut the bottom. Okay, I got my miter saw, and here's my woodpecker's poly gauge. And this is set at 45, so let's see how close it is, if I have to do any adjustments or not. Ooh, that is sweet. That's very, very good. Not a gap one. So my stops are still set on my miter. Cut it a little bit long. So instead of it having a good crisp fit, it's going to be pushing out because it's a little bit long. Set our stop blocks, cut both of them equally, reset the stop block, shave off a little bit off that 45 until we bring that in. On the 45 and the 22.5s are a nice crisp fit. Once that's achieved, my next step is to sand the interior. Sand it now, much easier than it is to sand once it's assembled. Sand it now and only the flat surfaces. We don't want to sand the angled or the ends, just the flat surface interior. Once that's sanded, we can head over to the table and start the glue up process. I think I made a mistake earlier. I forgot I cut this one, the back piece, at 17. I forgot it goes between the two ends, so it needed to be shorter. Once I get these glued and set, and I'll put squaring blocks in here to make sure it stays square. Then I'll put these on, glue them, put a strap around it, tighten it down so it holds it. I have these shelves cut. Perfect, nice little fit. Cool. There we go. That is the bottom one. I have the other one cut that will fit about midway here. I'll just center it. Can you see anything that could be missing? Do you see anything? Second mistake. Okay. Did you catch it? I showed you the plate all glued up. Did you see what I missed? There's no rabbet in the back for the backing plate to set into. Completely forgot to rabbet that in first. So once I ran through the planer, once I had everything at that equal playing field, that's when I should have set it up and ran it through the router. Yeah, my bad. I completely forgot. So now I have to do something that I don't like to do, I'm gonna have to actually go in the wrong direction, because if I go in the right direction that you should normally go when you run your router, it's going to tear out the chunks. So I'm gonna have to be careful and go with the rotation of the blade. If it's laying flat, you do that. The blade will spin this way, you run it against it. As it's coming in, it's cutting. Because it's this way, if I do that, it's going to tear out long pieces. So now I'm going to have to actually put it on this side, so as it's turning, it's going to catch it. And I'm going to have to be very careful, because if you're not careful, it will catch and take off on you. Not something I suggest, but this is what I got to do because I screwed up. Over to the router table, and let's put the rabbit in. I have all the corners chiseled out. So I went on the outside and the inside corners, just knock this off so there's no sharp edges. Let's go to the table saw and cut the piece down to fit back in here. Now I have measurements of the width is 16 5/16 and the length here from there, the closest I can get, looks like about a 16 and an 1/8. So I'm going to do 16 and 5/16 first, and then I'll do the 16 and an 1/8. $16, and I want 1/4 5/16 right there. Perfect, locked in. Boom. Don't have to raise the blade up too high. This is very thin stuff. Should be good right there. Dust collection on. Now move back to 16 and an 1/8. Right there. 16 and an 1/8. This is my third mistake. Time to cut the backing board. Unfortunately, when I went to set it on here to cut the angle, I screwed up. I don't know. So I had to recut it. I thought I'd edit this in instead of me trying to explain it. I'm going to demonstrate exactly what I did. You see, I have a cut there. My initial thought was this angle, which is a 22.5. So if I adjust my miter here to 22.5, I initially was going to cut this from here to here, 22.5, because I was thinking of this angle. And I started, and I, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, that's not even close. I screwed up. So I readjusted it to 45. Yeah. Now we have a better cut. This is a 45 cut, not a 22.5 cut. You have to have these two at 22.5 so they meet properly. If you have a straight one here and this at a 45, that longer cut is going to have your material thicker when it meets here. It will not work properly. So that's how I screwed up. That's why I had to recut it. Let's get back to the build. So I screwed up number 3, so I had to recut that over. So let's cut that down real quick and insert and make sure everything fits. So I recut another piece. I got this sitting in there, made sure it's all the way down, it's tight. Took my pencil and I traced the corner here, here, and here. And as you see, the marks there from the corners. So I transferred the line. I was actually off a little bit on this one. This one, I was quite a bit off. I put my home plate on here and I set this next to the blade. I went up and down, so I am perfect. I was actually off just a little, so I had to adjust this. I am about 45 and just past the line. So it's just a hair off, but I want to make sure it's a good fit. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this one. I'm going to set it in here, see if I have to trim it any until I get a good fit on this side, then I'll trim the other side. That looks good. That actually looks like it's fit in there. Perfect. So now, let me get the other side. May have to trim that one a little bit. I think I cut that one a little bit too big. A little bit too much yet. We have success. Now, we have a backing. Yay! I gotta go and eat dinner. Starting to take shape, getting very excited. It's looking pretty good. Backer board's in, frame's done. So now it's basically up to you what you want to do as far as shelves. I am going to do 2 shelves with a dowel post on there for the rings to sit around, and one towards the bottom of the V just for a baseball to sit. I think I used 1.25" Forstner bit, drilled a little hole for a baseball to set in. I just centered it, drilled it so the baseball should sit right in there. I'm going to turn my attention to the shelves. I already got the shelves cut to width, got the backer board on, measured from the backboard to the front of the frame, set my table saw to the measurement, I forget what it was, and ran the material through, and I have enough for 2 shelves and a short one down here for the baseball to set on. Now the ring post, I used 1/2" dowel, dead centered on the inner measurements of the shelf, dead center of the shelf, single post. From that point, center line to center line, I went 1.75". Every post from center line to center line, from center, is 1.75". I think you end up with about 1 inch on both sides on the last post. I cut the dowel rod a little over 1.25". I drilled them down about 1/4 inch. I want the post to stick up a little over 1 inch, just about 1 inch. So I cut them about 1 3/8". Let's go over here. I'm going to glue those up real quick. We're going to level everything out. made sure when I pounded them down, and I made sure they're all straight. Sometimes they would lean one with the other, make sure they're all 90 all the way around, nice and straight, parallel. I'm gonna set my table saw up. I don't know if I would suggest this. I'm going to do it this way because it's easiest for me to shave them all down so they are even. So I'm gonna set the table saw up. I'm gonna bring my fence over here. I'm gonna dial in. I'm gonna try to get it right about an inch. A little bit more is fine, but I wanna keep them close to an inch. And I'm basically just gonna set the wood on edge, post sticking out. I'm just gonna run through to shave off every one of those posts till I get down to about an inch. So they are all parallel, even, looking good. After going through the table saw, these are nice and uniform. They're all level and nice and straight. Now, I'm probably going to get some comments about that. I just took my time. I paid very close attention because you get close to that blade. But that was the easiest way for me to make sure that I had them all level. That's the way I wanted to do it. So now these are done. I would suggest this. If you're going to paint, I would suggest painting the top and possibly the front and even the bottom if you want of the shelf now. Just makes it easier so you're not trying to get in between the frame of that. Even though the back will be off, you can get in and do it. It's going to be easier to get these done now before you put them in. So I would suggest the shelves, paint top and bottom. You don't have to paint the front or back, but I would paint the top and bottom. The bottom shelf I painted top and bottom. And the V of that diamond plate, once I put the shelf in, it's going to be almost impossible to try to get in or paint that. So I painted the V up a couple of inches on both sides, so I didn't have to worry about it later. So when I set this in there, nail it in, it's already painted down there. I'm not have to worry about it. It's going to be much easier to do it now than later. So that's my suggestion. Paint these things now. Then we can nail it up and finalize this. Now once the shelves are installed, go around the outside, fill in any of the holes, let it dry, give the outside a good sanding, paint the inside, outside. Now the back is up to you. I chose to paint this one white. Now if I had somebody that knew how to do artistry or at least draw some things, I would put like a red line here, red line there, and put the little cross marks on it to make it look like the stitching on a baseball. That would be fine. I know it's a little more of a cost, but I think I would like to have maybe an aerial shot of the baseball stadium of my favorite team back there. There's so many things you could do. Sky is the limit. Great, easy, one-day build, scrap wood build. So many options. It's completely up to you. So we are done with this video. Thank you so much for watching. Be blessed. Take back shot. Build it for your sanity. Family projects are usually the most rewarding, but get the least amount of views. We do what we do because we enjoy it, not because we're looking for any accolades or any special attention. Sharing our knowledge, sharing our mistakes so we all can grow and be better. Thanks again for watching. We will see you next video.